Jason Bourne, man. This guy can run. He did a lot of running in this movie. I will run as fast as this man can and did in this movie. One day, guys. I promise you, one day I will be as fast as this man. Anyway, guys, hey there, what's up? What's going on? It is Autobot Mike 18 here, back with another one of my old movie reviews. Guys, Jason Bourne comes out in literally less than a week, and I still have to review and upload this, and review and upload the Bourne Ultimatum, so I gotta get busy. But that said, guys, I have finally watched the entirety of the Bourne Supremacy, and I'm going to be reviewing it in this video. No, I'm not going to be holding up the Bourne case throughout this entire thing. I put it on the side for you guys to stare at. You can look at me or you can look at that, whatever interests you. Who's more attractive, me or Matt Damon? Answer down below. Don't answer that question. Anyway, guys, yes, so the Bourne Supremacy is the sequel to the Bourne Identity. This movie came out in 2004. Also starring Matt Damon, reprising his title role, his titular role as Jason Bourne. And the film was directed by Paul Greengrass this time, not Doug Liman. Doug Liman did serve as an executive producer for this movie, but ultimately Greengrass stepped in and took the director's chair. And I'm definitely a fan of Paul Greengrass. I have only currently seen this and Captain Phillips from him. I want to watch a lot of his other movies because I know he's gotten praise for United 93 and a few others that he's done. But I definitely am a fan of the way Paul Greengrass directs a scene and especially uses how he films action sequences, especially after watching this movie. So I definitely feel he's a qualified director, and he is the one who's returned. He directed Ultimatum, and he is directing the new Jason Bourne coming out next Friday. And guys, again, this review will be up probably by Monday, and the Bourne Ultimatum review will be up most likely by Thursday. Of course, I want to get it up the day before Jason Bourne comes out. So that said, guys, let's get into the Bourne Supremacy. There you go. Stare at him. Stare at Jason right there. All right. So, guys, the Bourne Supremacy is set probably 2 years after the events of the Bourne Identity. And once again, we are following our main guy, Jason Bourne, played by Matt Damon. He is residing privately, trying to keep a low-profile cover somewhere in India. He's also with his now, I guess, girlfriend Marie, played by Franka Potente. And he still is a little fuzzy on a few things from his past. He's still having these flashbacks of this one particular mission he carried out as one of his earliest missions. So he still doesn't have all of his past life intact. And he is called back into action when he is framed for a double murder and an explosion somewhere in, I'm drawing a blank here, guys. But there's a double murder and an explosion, and his fingerprints are left at the scene of a crime, so he is framed. So he is on the run again, and the CIA, they're after him because they were connected to this double murder. And they want to take him down. So he's got to figure out who is hunting him down specifically, why they're framing him, and why they just won't leave this man the hell alone. And he's going to go on this journey to learn more about himself and stop the CIA from trying to murder him. But you can't murder Jason Bourne, let's be honest. The guy is an unstoppable force. He just is. So guys, that is the Bourne Supremacy. And I know one could easily look at the synopsis of this movie and say, okay, that's literally the same exact thing as the Bourne Identity. He's still trying to figure out bits of his identity. He's still having these little flashbacks here or there. There's going to be a female character involved who is along with him for the ride, essentially. There are a bunch of people who want to kill him. It's, yes, the formula, when you look at it like that, it's the same type of formula. But this is a slightly different movie from that of the Bourne Identity. And I think this movie differs in a good way from the Bourne Identity. And this was actually a problem I had with the Bourne Identity. I feel that in that film, we focused solely on Jason Bourne, Matt Damon's character, and we didn't get enough time with our opposing force, the people who were causing conflict and keeping Jason Bourne on the run. The tension was there and it worked, but I think it might work just a hair more in the Bourne Supremacy because we actually are following characters that were literally just almost side characters in the first Bourne. You know what I'm saying? For example, Julia Stiles' character, who plays Nikki, I feel she has a lot more to do in this movie than she did in the first movie. I literally didn't even know her name throughout the majority of that movie. She was literally just standing there, maybe talking to people on the phone, and that was the only real character development we had for that character. For that reason, I wanted more to be done with that character. You know what I mean? throughout that entire movie, and I think we got a lot more with her throughout this movie. I could even say the same for Brian Cox's character, who is an even bigger opposing force for Matt Damon throughout this movie. Maybe there are some interesting shady things going on with his past. We don't really know. But I think that they even gave him a lot more to do, and they gave him way more screen time than he had in the first movie. And the scenes where any scene that Jason Bourne is in a scene with these characters, I like how we have more scenes with them instead of them literally just sending these other unstoppable agents to take him down. These characters get up and close and personal with Bourne throughout the entire movie, and I think that's why ultimately my engagement was even stronger throughout this movie, and that is a credit to the writing. I praised the script for the Bourne Identity. I'm going to praise the script for Supremacy, because the writing is just as good as the writing was in the Bourne Identity, if not better, because it takes those characters to stronger levels and gives them more of a purpose in this movie, and that's ultimately why those characters work. It just got suddenly really dark for a second. Sorry, guys. But anyway, so I think that overall really worked, and I love how even we're a second movie in, and the sequel still manages to give us a even bigger look into the importance of the character of Jason Bourne because of certain actions that were taken very early on in this movie. Let me just say this much. This movie has a very ballsy decision to do a certain thing to a big character very early on in the movie. In the first 20 minutes, a character gets, character's dead. This character's death is going to affect Jason Bourne severely without spoiling anything. And it's interesting to see how he's emotionally going to react to that. Is this going to affect him emotionally on his journey to stop what remains of Treadstone and stop the CIA from trying to kill him? So I thought that was a very interesting new test almost for the character, and also for Matt Damon as an actor to pull off that emotional acting chop, because I felt for him a lot in the first movie, a guy not knowing who he was. I feel for him even more in this movie because he has to deal with that giant obstacle in the first act, and I think that's a great way to get us into the character's journey by giving them a major obstacle that will affect them emotionally throughout the rest of the movie. A+ writing decision, in my opinion. And essentially, it's going to pave the way for his motivation throughout the rest of the movie, and it absolutely does. And it again leads to a fascinating payoff that not only ties the arc of the obstacle that he faces in the first act of the movie, but also ties the arc of his character not knowing who he is yet again and trying to learn more of his past, and gives us an excellent payoff for a past assassination that he was involved in. So I think that worked incredibly well to this movie's benefit. Yet again, this movie gives us, it's the second scene before the ending scene in this movie. I loved it as a payoff. It felt like a strong payoff for this character and for other characters in this movie. So I loved it. I love where they go with it. I feel that they have a great way of making Bourne even though he's an unstoppable monster, they have a great way of making him feel very human and making him resonate with me, you know what I mean? So I love how they did that with the Bourne Supremacy, and they gave us an excellent payoff. And again, that's very strongly due, in fact, to the excellent writing that's in this movie. And one thing, guys, that I always look forward to with a sequel, when I review a sequel, I normally say that the sequel should, or at least has to, improve upon most of the things that were good about the first movie. And I feel that they absolutely do that with the Bourne Supremacy. And the big thing, like I've just been talking about nonstop for the last minute, were the writing and some of the side characters. They're given a lot more to do, and we're even introduced to new characters that I thought also were set up and established very well, and I could see them going places in the next installment. Case in point, Joan Allen's character playing Pamela Landy. I thought she was very opposing and she felt very in command of this character very well. I think she held her own against Jason Bourne, and I love how the protagonist actually has the upper hand over the antagonist in this movie and puts a stress on them, because you could totally relate to these CIA directors as well. They're just people trying to do orders. Take down Jason Bourne. Jason Bourne's an unstoppable machine. When Jason Bourne has the upper hand over you, then you know you're screwed. So I thought that was an excellent addition to this movie as well. I thought her character resonated with me at times as well. I love every single moment when he surprises them in this movie. It put such a big grin on my face. It was so worthwhile, for sure. So I got into all that. I touched upon the fact that this sequel does improve upon the original in terms of writing. I could even say they went bigger with the action in this movie. In terms of a sequel success, everything should be bigger and better than the first one if the sequel is going to be better. If you're going to look at it as a better movie, you know what I mean? Everything should be better or should improve upon everything that was great about the first movie. And I think they did for the most part with this, definitely with the action. And that ties into, without a doubt, Paul Greengrass in this movie. Paul Greengrass, I think, knows how to direct action very, very well. Or he knows how to escalate tension with action and choreography with using the camera. Because he definitely uses shaky cam, but his use of shaky cam isn't so incoherent and sloppy. It actually makes sense. Like he utilizes it in a way that makes you feel as if you're in the thick of the action. Like say if there's a fist fight or something, or you know, two spies are in one scene. Bourne is fighting off this other guy in this like house. And it was really exciting and suspenseful because they were both using household objects. And not once did I fall out of the scene or get confused in the space or feel that I didn't know who was winning the scene. I always had a good idea. And I feel that shaky cam very much so put me in the thick of the action for that sequence. So I thought that scene worked very well. And I think the shaky cam, whenever a character is running, also, it's not like so shaky, like, oh look, like it's all over the place like this. Like the camera operator has like, I don't know, like he has Tourette's or something and can't hold the camera, you know, straight. It's good shaky cam. It's not bad shaky cam. We've had bad shaky cam in movies. We have good shaky cam. Spielberg did it excellently in Saving Private Ryan, and I think Greengrass sort of followed his steps with Supremacy. He utilizes it well. When you can use shaky cam well, it works, and I think it worked great for this movie. The stunts were great. The choreography is excellent, and I think that the sort of like planning and the overall like scope of where action scenes are going to take place, like the set pieces of the car chases or just the running on foot chase sequences. Like I thought those were really great and intense and suspenseful as hell as well. Same can be said with the car chase scene. I love the final car chase scene in this movie. It's incredibly done, and I love the payoff of that car chase sequence alone. It was great. So action definitely went up just a hair above the Bourne Identity. We definitely got more of it. We definitely got even more of Jason Bourne being a total badass and just taking out people left and right. People who are so, not dim-witted, but they're very, like, they're not expecting it at all. Like, I think that works very well to this movie's wonder. So the action was a bit bigger, the script was a bit bigger, the characters went a bit bigger, and they opposed the character of Jason Bourne a lot more. They were a lot more prevalent within the movie and had a lot more to do with the story and progressing the story and the characters forward. They added to the tension and to the conflicts that the characters are having, so I thought that worked. The score, yet again, I love that ending theme to the Bourne movies. I think it's really catchy and really cool. I gotta go look it up. It's bothering me now. And I think the performances are great. Matt Damon and Franka Potente, yet again, have amazing chemistry, like they did in the first movie. And I think that all the like Joan Allen was great, Julia Stiles, like they all have more to do, so they all can show their range a lot more. And it's a lot more, all the more so impressive. So I'm definitely a fan of Greengrass directing movies, especially directing action specifically, so I'm on board for that. I can't wait to see what he does with Ultimatum and the new Jason Bourne. My camera is dying, so I gotta hurry up. So I was a fan of that. I was a fan of everything else with the movie. If I had to name any complaints, I would say the only things that bothered me, there was one plot hole involving fingerprints that I get spies, like they're spies, I get it, so that's how they got that, but at the same time I'm like, yeah, it was a reach for me. And the other thing, Karl Urban's character was a boss in the first act of this movie, and then he's not in the rest of the movie until the very end of the movie. I really wanted them to go further with that character. I know that they're developing Brian Cox and other antagonists, but I still wanted them to go further with Karl Urban. That said, this movie is fun, it's entertaining, it improves upon a lot of great things that made the Bourne Identity so great. So for that said, guys, I am going to give the Bourne Supremacy, a solid grade of a 9.5 out of 10 or an A. My battery is literally going, so I gotta wrap this up. I really had a fun time with this movie. It might even be better than the Bourne Identity, but it's like right there. They're like neck and neck. I know I gave this the higher grade, but both are really solid movies. I don't know which one I like more. So guys, leave me your thoughts on the Bourne Supremacy down below in the comments. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for my Bourne Ultimatum and Jason Bourne reviews. They will be coming shortly. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye.